Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to do a 6-month postpartum update. Just feeling very low-key today, wanting to chit-chat with y'all, and I haven't really talked much about my postpartum experience or really even pregnancy or motherhood here on my channel because it is a fashion channel, but I just wanted to share my experience for those of you who will be going through this really soon or in the future, or if you're going through it now, or if you're just curious to know my experience postpartum. I know everyone's is different, but this is how some of the things I've been going through and working through and how things are going. So I asked for some questions over on Instagram that I thought I would answer, and if you didn't know too, over on my blog, which is strawberrychicblog.com, I share monthly updates. So there are 5 up. There will be a 6-month up soon. And I just chat about like what's going on currently, some of my favorite baby products. I started to include some nursing friendly outfits in there, and it's just kind of a roundup, not a roundup. I mean, I guess it kind of is. It's just kind of a review of the past month, one for my own memories too. But I know a lot of y'all are interested in that content, and I try to keep it mostly over on my blog just because I'm not a motherhood channel. But yeah, so let's get started with some of your questions. Let me pull them up, and also try not to get distracted by a couple of group text messages currently. All right. First question is, what is something unexpected during postpartum that you weren't prepared for? And I feel like with social media, everyone is so open these days about their experiences. So I definitely heard a good amount and had like a heads up on a lot of things like hair loss and the bleeding and all of those things that I was expecting. But one thing that I have never heard anyone talk about is the intrusive thoughts that you can get. And honestly, I didn't even really talk to Tim about it because I thought I was crazy for having these very vivid, scary thoughts in my head all the time. And luckily it wasn't any extreme or anything like that. I know some people, like another blogger did talk about having like a fear of driving, but I didn't really put the two together. But I definitely experienced that postpartum, and I still have random bits of it now, even 6 months later. And for me, I know the 2 biggest triggers, the one being going down the stairs. I mean, anytime I'm going down the stairs, I just get like very anxious, and I'm like holding her tightly, and I'm just in your mind. When you have intrusive thoughts, it's just a very vivid like flash that you think something horrible is happening. So I would think that I'm like gonna drop her, or I'm gonna fall and we're gonna like tumble down the stairs together, and I think of like how to protect her in those situations. And then another one would be like when we would go on walks as a family, I would have like an intrusive thought that a car was gonna like drive off the road and hit us, and definitely something I wasn't prepared for. Luckily for me, it wasn't, debilitating, but it was just something I never heard of, and I honestly didn't really talk about it because I thought there was something wrong with me. But recently I was watching someone on Instagram, and they mentioned it was like a doctor of psychology talking about this, and I was like, okay, this is apparently a normal thing. So yeah, if that happens to you, just know it is normal. And it definitely has, not been as intense lately, but I think it's just like a motherly instinct where you are just trying to protect your baby. Who knows? It could be a hormonal thing. I really don't know, but definitely something I was not prepared for. Question 2 is, there was a lot of questions about breastfeeding and how that's going. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, that question always comes up in my Q&As, and I typically kind of answer them. So I'm sorry if some of this is repetitive, but yes, I am exclusively breastfeeding, and it's been going really well overall. I didn't really have, set expectations honestly going into it because I know it can be different for everyone, and I wasn't going to put this huge pressure on my shoulders if it wasn't working out. But fortunately, from the beginning, it has gone really well. She was great at latching. Of course, there was expected pain. I would say the first 2 weeks, really that first week, wow, like you can't prepare for that either, even though you kind of have an idea of what's going to go on. But yeah, luckily I didn't deal with, painful engorgement or mastitis or clogged ducts all the time, anything like that. And overall, it's been a really great experience. Every now and then there are definitely challenges with it. I feel like it's getting better currently, but around month 3, she started to get very distracted and almost seemed like she wasn't getting enough. Like she was just fussy all the time eating. And so that led to a lot of, that was really challenging on me and really frustrating on me. And I can see why women are very, I don't know, it's just a very emotional thing. And if it's not going well, I could just see how mentally damaging that could be. So yeah, it hasn't been like a perfect journey. It definitely has its challenges, but it's one that I am very thankful for, and I don't really see an end in sight. I think I will easily breastfeed her the first year. I'm not really sure of my plan after that. All right, next question is, did I get any stretch marks? And I did get, I guess in total, probably, actually, okay, I have to take that back. On my boobs, I got a ton of stretch marks when my milk came in. Suddenly it was like, they were suddenly just there. And my boobs didn't really grow a bunch in pregnancy. It was more my rib cage. So yeah, my boobs definitely have a lot of stretch marks. It doesn't bother me. I'm not really insecure about stretch marks or anything. And then I have like 3 on my side, like right kind of on my like muffin top, just like vertical little stretch marks. And those didn't show up until I want to say like days before having her, if not afterward. But they've already kind of started lighting up. I don't really have stretch marks on my stomach or anything like that. Have you had postpartum hair loss? Absolutely. I don't think you can necessarily get around it just by taking prenatals, although some people said that helped them. I definitely think it's just a hormonal thing. It started around 3 months, and it's just, chunks of hair in the shower, especially if you're rocking a mom bun most of the week and then you go to take a shower. It's very, very alarming. I'm glad I knew that was a normal thing, but you just don't lose as much hair during pregnancy, so it definitely makes up for it afterward. I currently do have hair extensions in, but yeah, postpartum hair loss is definitely, I think it's already kind of calming down, but like my hair's so light and blonde around my hairline anyway, I don't think it's as noticeable as like my sister-in-law. Her hair is really dark, so you can see the patches a little bit more, whereas mine, it looks bald because it's just like white blonde hair anyway. So yeah, definitely have had that. Not fun, but I feel like there's just really no way around it. And I don't want to take any kind of supplements that I'm not really sure how that would affect breastfeeding and all that. So I just go with it, I guess. How has your, like, there's a bunch of questions regarding like my postpartum, like health and fitness and weight loss, pretty much anything in that category. So I didn't do anything until about 8 weeks ago, like 2 months ago. I started doing the Sweat app, which if you aren't familiar with that, it started as like the bikini body guide, which I swore by in college, but Lord knows I was not ready for any high intensity exercise, that's for sure. But I have a program that she has in the app with the postpartum program, and it started very simple. Honestly, have been minimally sore, although it's definitely getting more challenging now that I'm around week 6. I've been very consistent with it other than 2 weeks around Thanksgiving, which is a very busy time for work. But for me, I normally am very all or nothing. Like if I put my mind to something, it's going to happen ASAP. Like I'm not patient, and that happens with working out, or if I have like a health itch or whatever, I just go all out. And I knew that was not realistic postpartum because your days are just much more limited. Sorry, my friends, we're trying to pick dinner. Yeah, your days just look completely different, and you just don't have as much time as you are used to. So I knew fitting in an intense workout or something I didn't really enjoy doing was just going to drop off the priority list really quickly. So the program has been great because they are as quick as 15 minutes, depending on how long you take the rest breaks, up to 25 minutes. So I really told myself I don't really have an excuse. Like I have 30 minutes to set aside for myself, and I didn't start that for any weight loss intentions. I actually have, I'll go into this actually. I had postpartum, or I had preeclampsia, I guess, is what I was diagnosed with. I honestly don't know if it was preeclampsia or if it was genetic and personality, but yeah, anyway, I still have high blood pressure and I'm still on medication. So my goal was truly to start being active again, start eating healthier, and really try to adjust my lifestyle to make sure that that's not triggering my high blood pressure, because I do think a lot of comorbidities in America are 100% due to diet and inflammation, like chronic inflammation in your body. So that was kind of my initial starting point. I've definitely, had my ups and downs with that. I would say I eat a lot healthier than I did and try to add in veggies, but it could definitely be cleaner. But yeah, that's kind of why I started. It was not for weight loss or anything like that. I would say I'm 5 to 10 pounds away from my pre-baby weight. Really in no rush to drop that, especially with breastfeeding. But yeah, I've been sticking to the routine, and I hope in the new year I will be starting the more high intensity workouts again, because I just feel 100 times better when I do get a workout in versus sit on the couch all day. So yeah, overall the postpartum fitness plan has been going great for me. So if you're looking for something, I would recommend that program. I just love that I can just turn it on, not have to think about what I have to do. Even though I'm a physical therapist, I can come up with my own workouts. It's just the time and motivation to do that is just not up there. So the app definitely helps. So I actually haven't even posted my birth story with Josie. I have a lot of it written up, but it's just lower on my priority list. I'm not even sure if y'all are interested in hearing about it. Let me know if you are, if you want to see that on video here, or if you prefer a blog post, which is where I've kind of started writing it before I would forget things. But yeah, I haven't really shared that, but I was induced early at 38 weeks because of my high blood pressure, and y'all, it was very high. Very, very high. I think actually I can go into a little bit of the story. I don't want to get off topic from the questions, but it's definitely a huge part of my postpartum journey. Leading up to being induced, I was in the hospital at 36 weeks because of the blood pressure, and unfortunately, like an error reading with my ultrasound showed that my fluid dropped significantly, so they were expecting to induce me that day. Fortunately, they redid it with a high-risk specialist in the hospital, and he was like, your fluid's fine, so we're going to wait this out. But I did get induced at 38 weeks in one day because of the blood pressure. And fortunately, that experience was great. I had a great induction, I had a great labor, and really pain postpartum was way better than I was expecting. But a week, I guess, after getting home, so I was in the hospital an extra day because of the blood pressure, and they were trying to regulate it with medication, I think. Yeah, I think I started medication that time. But I ended up having to go back to the hospital a week later around then after a blood pressure checkup with my midwife. It was crazy high, and I can't believe I didn't have any symptoms, like nothing. I felt completely normal. And of course everyone was like, you just need to relax, you're sleep deprived, you're stressed with a newborn. It really wasn't any of that, I don't think. Because I would be laying in bed on my side and it would still be sky high. I think it got up to like 119 over 120, which is scary. But yeah, I ended up back in the hospital for, I think, just 2 days, which is not normal. I don't think for the magnesium drip that I was on for 24 hours, and then they kind of monitored for the next 24 hours. And that was definitely the most challenging phase of my whole postpartum experience, because when you have a newborn, you don't want them to have to go back to the hospital, and I'm breastfeeding, so she had to be there with me. And that was really important to me. So yeah, we had her there and Tim sleeping in the hospital. So sleep deprived because they have to assess your vitals every hour on the hour when you're on the magnesium drip, because it can cause, decreased reflexes, and it can cause some serious adverse effects. So they're just monitoring you very closely. Fortunately, I did not have any adverse effects. Honestly, I felt fine on that, which a lot of people don't. I was even able to get up and walk to use the restroom on the drip, which the nurse was like, you're the first person I have ever seen walk on a magnesium drip. So I was very fortunate that I wasn't sick or didn't have any adverse effects from that, because I read and heard a lot of horror stories. But yeah, that was definitely the most challenging part. And I am not a crier, but of course in that situation, I was definitely very emotional. And I also just had a lot of frustrations, honestly, with the whole process of like my blood pressure getting to where it was, and just different questions that I had that weren't necessarily answered. And communication in the hospital is just not the best. And I know that's not on the doctors per se, because you know, you maybe see them once a day and you're just kind of sitting there wondering what's going on. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent, but yeah, that was definitely the most challenging part of my postpartum. And I'm still on blood pressure medication even 6 months later. So I guess that's kind of frustrating, but definitely not as bad as being in the hospital. All right, back to the questions. So did you do any sleep training? Which there's like baby questions mixed in with postpartum questions that I figured I would just throw in. Because sleep is definitely one of the most asked questions, as well as like the breastfeeding when it comes to motherhood. I honestly feel bad saying this because I have so many friends who are struggling with their baby sleeping, but fortunately Josie has been a really great sleeper from the beginning. As soon as she got back to her birth weight, she started sleeping, you know, most nights like 6 hour stretches, 5 or 6 hour stretches. And from there now she sleeps on average like 12 hours a day or 12 hours at night and doesn't wake up. And I don't sleep train. I don't know what I'm doing. So very, very glad that that's the case, because I know that's very challenging and adds even a deeper level to the fatigue during postpartum and the whirlwind that it is. But luckily for us, that has not been an issue. So to answer the question, no, we have not done any sleep training. Did your shoe size change? Yes, it has. It's still very weird because I can still very comfortably wear some of my old shoes, whereas other pairs aren't comfortable anymore. I guess it just depends on the brand. I'm not sure, or like the width and all that. But my shoe size definitely did increase. I wouldn't say a whole like half size, but it's definitely bigger. And I used to be able to wear 8s, and now I am more regularly an 8.5. So yeah, definitely did grow in size because your ligaments relax during pregnancy. Basically, you're never going to be the same person again. All right. Have you gotten your period again postpartum? So this is also something that I was, I guess, not expecting. But I thought, because I was going to be breastfeeding, I was not going to have another period again for another year, and I was so excited about it. But mine actually came back very early on. I think that had a lot to do with her sleeping so well through the night, so I can't complain about that. But I think around month 2 is when it started to come back, and I was like, really? Just wasn't expecting it. I do think my periods have actually been better since having a baby, which I have heard can happen. Before that, I had very bad cramps. I mean, I still take a Midol just to be safe, but like in high school, no kidding, I would go to the emergency room being so sick, and we didn't put it together for like a year why it was always a day I started my period I would be like vomiting and very, very ill. And luckily that has faded, but my periods overall have still been very like painful cramping wise, and I normally just lay down on the couch and side lying in fetal position. But they are better now that I've had a baby, which is a good positive. But I'm still kind of bitter that I have a period again, because I thought that I was going to be free for another year. Oh well. Ooh, this wasn't really a question, but I definitely got a little spicy on Instagram in my last Q&A. If you missed it, I will kind of summarize it here. I think the question was about like if I was ever going to go back to therapy, and it kind of led me down this whole kind of rant thing, essentially saying, you know, now that I work for myself, it's really hard to think about going back and working for somebody else and working 48 hours a week, 9 to 5, you know, barely taking vacation time because you feel guilty over it, and or you just don't have, you know, the coverage and you have patients on your list, yada yada. But I was also talking about maternity leave, and that was one of the main reasons, honestly, that I thought I would stick with my job longer than I did, because I was like, you know, I've already been paying in for these benefits, and you know, I'm not gonna have maternity leave when I work for myself. And gosh, it's just something that America definitely needs to completely revamp. It just honestly blows my mind that women, obviously not everyone has that choice, but For women to be going back any earlier than 3 months, in my opinion, is just almost abuse in a way. I can't really, I'm not saying, you know, for anyone who's gone through abuse, obviously it doesn't compare, but mentally, physically, emotionally, like literally every part of you and what you're going through postpartum, the last thing that should be on your plate additionally is going back to work. In those first 3 months, I honestly couldn't imagine going back to work because it's definitely a whirlwind. It's just like a fog, and it honestly does get better hitting that 3-month mark, and it gets better every single week even. But you are just, in a way, mourning your previous life and who you were and what you're used to. Your world is just completely flipped upside down. You know, in the beginning, you're breastfeeding every 2 hours. I remember being like, how am I ever going to leave the house again? Like, how can I ever go to Target, go out to eat with friends, anything again? Because I was just constantly breastfeeding and caring for an infant. And obviously that gets better, and your life slowly adjusts through those first 3 months. But wow, maternity leave in America is just beyond. Anyway, that was a tangent in itself over on Instagram. But I remember I was sticking around for like 5 weeks of paid maternity leave is what I got at my previous job, which I was told was good. And I know not everyone gets 5 weeks, but like to me, it's just unacceptable. I don't know. Let me know y'all's thoughts on all of this down in the comments. Nobody thoughts, but hopefully I didn't say anything that would offend anyone there. That's like what my mind is at all the time on Instagram and everywhere on the internet. Anyway, back to the questions. I don't know how long this video is getting actually, so we might need to wrap it up. Yeah, I'll probably just end it there. End it while I'm ahead on this rant. But those are a couple things on my mind postpartum that I wanted to share. I guess I could talk a little bit about the healing situation. Oh, never mind, my baby's up. Okay, we're ending this video, but okay, I gotta go. But thank y'all for watching, and thank you for sticking around with me this past year. I definitely feel like I'm finally excited again for YouTube, and I don't want that to come across the wrong way, but like when I was pregnant, it's just try on hauls and stuff is not the same, and I wasn't as motivated, and I was just a different person. And I'm really excited with where I think my content's gonna go in the future here really soon. This month I do a lot of like planning, especially next month for January, and I just have a lot of creative ideas again, and I'm just excited to kind of put more of my energy back here. You know, I feel like this past year really, like Nordstrom sales, obviously like a huge passion for me, and that was actually 3 weeks postpartum. I don't know how I did that. It was all a blur, and luckily babies sleep a lot at that time. I was just so passionate about that, and everything else I feel like it's just kind of been going through the motions, and I want to bring that excitement and passion back into my channel. So I'm excited for some new things coming y'all's way, and I just wanted to say thank you for being here and hanging out with me and for watching. So if there's any other random things that you'd like to see here on my channel, I definitely start doing a lot of planning this time of year, so I'd love to hear from you. And I will link any of my current like baby favorites or all of those monthly updates down below if you want to catch up there. Thank you guys. I don't know what that was. Whatever. Thank y'all for watching, and I will see you soon in my next video, and I'm gonna go cuddle with my baby girl. So I don't know how I forgot like the biggest question of this Q&A as far as baby number 2 goes. Don't know how I could forget that one. And Josie wanted to say hi to y'all. She doesn't really show up as much on YouTube, but if you want to see her more day to day, follow over on Instagram, because that's where we like to hang out. So, you want a brother or a sister? We don't have any plans. Now that I have had her, I'm like, oh my gosh, like babies are the cutest. I was definitely not like a huge baby person before. I didn't have like constant baby fever as far as like, I don't know, I have some friends that are like obsessed with babies, and I just wasn't that. But now that I've had her, I'm like obsessed with babies, and I could have a million, but that ain't gonna happen. I think we're thinking 2 or 3. Now that I've had one, probably just one more, but we will see. And I'd like them to be somewhat close in age, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to be pregnant right now. So I'm not sure if we'll plan it or just let things happen. I don't know. But we definitely want her to have a sibling relatively close in age. Yeah. You're so cute.